Welcome back, guys. Can you believe it's noontime time for another video? If you don't know, 2 videos a day, Monday through Friday, noon and 8 all times Eastern, blah 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 blah. Subscribe, like, and all that. Okay, let's get on with it. This is a series of videos we do where we look at a Star Wars vintage item for the Kenner years 1978 to 1985 and see what the going price is. So far we've looked at action figures, and I thought we'd do something a little different today and look at a playset. And probably the most popular playset of the vintage Star Wars line is, of course, the Death Star. How fun is it? The Death Star. I got one right over here. I don't know if you can see it, but if you turn your eyes over there, you probably can. So it's going to be kind of a short video because this one wasn't released in multiple boxes. When you look at some of the figures, you have Star Wars card, Empire card, Return of the Jedi card, maybe even Power of the Force card. And then you have loose, so it's a little longer video. But this one was only released between 1978 and 79. Now, you might have seen it in the stores in the 80s, but it didn't cross over to the Empire Strikes Back logo box. Let me just say, because I get this in the comments a lot, asking why is there Star Wars figures from the first movie, aka A New Hope, on Return of the Jedi cards? Well, most of you know, but I'll put this out there who didn't. When each new movie came out, they keep making the old figures and just put them on the new logo. So, figures released under the Star Wars logo in 78, 79. They were released again in 83 on the Return of the Jedi card, and before that on the Empire Strikes Back card. So you would go to the store and you could find up to like 90 figures at the store. There would be 90 figures shipping by the Return of the Jedi release. So let's move on. Let's look at the Death Star. And yes, we're going to look at the Palitoy Death Star also. It was cardboard, smaller, a lot different than the one the US got. And not only are we going to look at the Death Star, we're going to look at some parts of the Death Star that go for high dollar. First, let's look at this thing in the box. This is sealed, original factory tape and everything on the box. Remember that kid? I did an interview with that kid, and we're still looking for the second kid so we can recreate. The one standing up, we did an interview with him. Check that out. If you didn't, I'll link it at the end of this video. If I remember to put the link there, sometime I don't. But if anybody knows who this other kid is, please let me know so we can recreate this photo and get an interview with that kid also. So how much is this thing in original sealed box? Well, but you don't find them often. So about $1,500 to $2,000 is what I found from doing some research. Now, please don't tell me in the comments section, they're only worth what somebody's going to pay for it. That is probably one of the most annoying quotes I hear when I make videos. Oh, hey, I'm willing to pay $5 for this. Doesn't mean it's worth $5. Somebody else might be willing to pay $2. I might be the only one willing to pay $5. Who knows? Doesn't mean it's worth $5 to anybody else. So it's not always worth what one person is willing to pay for it. Because we're talking averages here. And that's how I came up with these prices. Doing an average of what the going price for these things are. So let's look at loose, but it has the box with it. It's got all the parts, all the pieces, even the rope, but it's loose. Well, you can be looking at maybe $250 to $300, which is surprising. I mean, this thing has a lot of pieces, but it's mostly easy to find complete. Again, the rope is probably the toughest thing. If you don't see the rope, knock off maybe another $50 to $100. What about loose, but doesn't have the original box with it? That right there is probably about $160 to $200. Again, for a play set that would today cost you about that new at the store, it's really not that bad of a price when you think about it. Now, let's talk about some of the rare items with this thing. And Trash Monster. Have to mention the Trash Monster. The US version came with a green Trash Monster, as you see here. And you can buy just a Trash Monster if you want to. And that's going to run you between about $20 to $50. $50 is going to be, of course, in great shape, sometimes even graded. 20 is a little more beat up and played with. But if you're looking to add one to your Death Star, I was somewhere probably aim for the middle between the 20 and the 50, $35, $40 somewhere in there. And probably the hardest thing to find when it comes to the Death Star is the rope. Most people don't remember this being in the toy. People lost this on day one. And you're going to pay for a real one. There's a lot of fake ones out there, but if you don't like fake stuff in your collection, or you just want to feel, hey, I got all the original parts, well, you're going to spend about $60 to $70. Now, again, I'm seeing them go high as $100, but the average is about $60 to $70. And that's a look at the Kenner release of the Death Star. But let's head over to the UK. Look at them bloody fools over there and their Death Star. As you can see from this photo here, their Death Star was totally different, and it didn't even have a Trash Monster. But let's look at this thing in the box. Now, this thing's hard to find in the box. I didn't find many prices to compare to get a good average. So I went back to some other public auctions, eBay auctions, and other places, and found somewhere between $5,000 to $6,000 in a good box. Whew. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a lot of potatoes right there. Well, what about loose? But it has the box, but it's loose. Probably about $450 to about $550, somewhere in that range. Again, condition always matters. And loose, but no box. It has no box. It has no box at all. It's loose. It's got all the pieces, got all the parts. It's cool. It sets up, but it doesn't have a box. Well, that's probably going to run you about $400 to about $450 right there. Again, these things are hard to find, and I'm surprised that the prices on these wasn't a little higher, especially complete and everything, because I hardly ever see one of these complete turned up. Even on eBay, you don't see that many of them show up. Not as many as you see the original Kenner Death Star anyway, that's for sure. But that's the going prices of Death Star, Palitoys and Kenner, box or loose, and some of the rare parts. So let me know what toy I should look at next. Maybe back to an action figure. Maybe Jabba the Hutt. Is that an action figure or a creature? It's an action figure. He speaks English. A creature is something like a wampa or a tauntaun, an animal, a pet. Well, I guess that's about it. Well, I want to thank you for watching. As always, thumbs up so you like my content. Subscribe to the channel. Talk again soon.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.